Good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. So this is our last live for the holiday season, right? Hey, good morning, Andy. We're going to, like I had mentioned, take off doing our lives for next week. Everyone should enjoy their family for the holiday. And I get the opportunity to just kind of like just do it, right? Which I'm really looking forward to. Although I love the calls, I really do. There's a lot of what we're doing it just is, you're in it, be in it, right? Like the only way out is through. So there's a lot of what we're doing that I just need um, uninterrupted time, which is cool. All right, so let's go down the checklist. Rhino bucks I never got to yesterday. The money's there. Sent more money today. We'll be doing that today. The patent team I will be speaking to today. I expect that our non-provisional will be filed. I looked at my emails as early as 3 a.m. I haven't seen anything from them, but it's 3 a.m. Maybe I'm one of the few that's actually awake at that time. So right after this, I'm going to email them and say, hey, listen, if they emailed me, I'll take it. But if I hadn't seen it, I'm going to be reminding them. That we're really excited about. I will be in touch with our team today. I really don't want to have a team meeting. So if I can get the answers I'm looking for, just Slack, I'd rather do that. But if we need to have a meeting, we have to have a meeting. I mean, that's just the way it is. The goal is that TED is testable. Now, not the TED that we've been speaking of, right? Like everyone knows, hey, Frida, you have TED, it has image creation, it can read images, like it does all of that stuff. The thing that we're working on is having wake up word and voice recognition. For instance, your phone could just be sitting on the counter and you could say, hey, Ted, I got a question for you. And Ted's like, hey, Andy, hey, Deborah, hey, whomever. Yeah, what's up? I'm right here for you. And of course, that sounds like Alexa or Siri. I'm spelling it because I don't want Apple to jump in. But it's backed by the entire coding of TED. So it also, hey, Angus is in the house. Merry Christmas. So it's going to be able to do a lot more, which is really cool. So that's that. Take the trader's money. Really great week. I wanted to get an email out last night to start a weekend promotion. I was not able to, so I will be doing that early today. So right after this call, I will be checking in with all departments. I will be going through my emails because again, I did update them as of 5 a.m. today. So I don't suspect of the last 5 hours there's a ton. There's probably a couple. So I'll be able to get to them. I do then want to take the trader's money, that promotion starting for next week. And that's that. What else are we working on? So I started with Rhino Bucks. Everything is good otherwise. It's just going the way it's going. It's funny, as I was jogging this morning, I was thinking about Rhino Bucks because now it's getting into the point where it's like, all right, it's 94, 95 cents. It's sitting there. It's fine. But I think the zeitgeist at least is, oh, this is the new normal. This is the new price, which couldn't be further from the truth, right? Like we're purposely not buying it. Like we're putting it all into the liquidity pool. So when you take a look at the amount of Rhino that's in the liquidity pool, I think it's up to 52,000. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, Rhino is backed by what? Well, there's 52,000 Rhino in that backing, and the backing is one-to-one with actual money. Therefore, once the value of Rhino starts increasing again, i.e. once we actually start buying it again, then those two numbers, the dollar amount and the Rhino amount, both exponentially move higher because as it's worth more equals the more dollar amount that it's actually worth, therefore both move simultaneously. And we did that on purpose. Everything was always one to one and it was always dollar backed, BUSD, which is the Binance dollar coin. So although it might look unexciting here, it is actually far, I don't want to say far stronger than it was when it was 280, because that's not true. But it's only down, say, 30% since then. It was 140,000 market. It's now around 100,000. So it's about 37, 38% lower. So that's the entire value of it. But I'm not even sure that is completely honest, because the thing is, we don't know what the entire market value would be once we start buying it again. Like, for instance, if we buy it up to say $1.10, well, now you have that 52,000 coin at $1.10, whatever that number comes out to, like 55,000 or whatnot. But that also equals 55,000 in cash on the other end, meaning now you're sitting at 110,000. And I think that number is actually would be higher because 52,000, whatever. The point, you'd actually be at like 115,000. So wait a second, you're telling me that Rhino, just the way it is, if it just goes up 15 cents, is now worth 110, 115,000. Well, if you're not holding me to the exact decimal point, then yeah, I'm thinking out loud, right? The math is directionally correct. I don't have the exact figure, so as long as everyone knows that. But wait, it was 140,000 at 280. How can it possibly be 115,000 at $1.10? Because at 280, there was only like 25 or 30,000 Rhino in. There's now 52,000. So actually, that's really good math. It was 25,000, it's now 50,000. Let's use round numbers. Meaning at $1.40, it will be worth the same amount as it was at 280. How is that possible? Because it actually has more money in it. Remember, market price is only the price that it's going at. The other component is how many can be sold or bought. So for instance, if you have 10 bananas and each banana is $1, and I say, hey, listen, I want 15 bananas. Well, you're like, wow, supply and demand is really in my favor. I'm going to make these bananas $2 a piece because he wants 15. I only have 10. So he's going to definitely pay up because he wants all of them. Well, now what if I have 100 bananas and you want 15? Right? The price isn't going to move up because I have so many. Yeah, here, take 15. I'll give them to you for $1 each. That's you when you buy and sell it. So for those that have large positions or that are looking to have large positions or that are actually kind of seeing this and saying, this is where I want to invest long term, the longer we continue building, the higher the ability that down the road, when you decide to sell like 80,000 Rhino, you'll be able to say, wow, I redeemed $200,000 like that. Remember, in the beginning, when we first went public at $1, Rhino's total liquidity pool was $6,000. The amount of Rhino in the liquidity pool was, I think, I don't know, like 1,000, right? Meaning, if anybody wanted to sell 1,000 Rhino, Rhino would go to 0 cents. Well, how can that be? Well, there's only 1,000 Rhino in there. If you sold 1,000, what do you think would happen? The cool thing about as it's been moving up is that when you see these drops, yeah, they're not fun, but they're progressively on higher volume. So I remember the first drop was this gentleman that's actually a big, he's a big investor in Rhino. And he sold 500 one day. And I remember the price of Rhino dropped from like, I think it was like 170 to like 130 that day. And I texted him because it was still early. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I just want to see if the market can handle it. And that sentence, I was so in the forest, I didn't see it for the trees. I saw it for just the one. And it hit me afterwards, like, duh. Somebody wants to see if they can actually sell into this thing, right? Because if it's like Hotel California, you can only check in, you can't check out. It's a real problem. Then I remember the next drop was somebody sold, I think, 2,500. And again, when I say someone, I'm just not sharing the name with you. I know who all these people are. And the price of Rhino, I think, dropped from like 250 to like 220 or something like that. And I wasn't pleased, but I was like, okay. I remember when 500 would drop at like 40%. Now selling 2,500 dropped at say 20, 30%. Okay. And then I remember the person that sold like 10,000 worth. And that was when it went from, I think it was like 230 down to down to two, I think it was. Somewhere over there. I remember we didn't enjoy how far down it went. Okay. Oh no, it actually went down to a buck 75, right? That was that big drop. And then we rallied back to 280. And then the most recent person sold $26,000 worth. Now let's go through it. $500 worth, $2,500 worth, 11,000 worth, 25,000 worth. Okay, the price isn't pleasurable, right? Like no one's like, oh my God, that drop in price really made me happy. No, not at all. But if you don't need the cash today, and I always say if it doesn't affect the standard of living of yourself or those that depend on you, and you see your accumulation accumulating, which I don't want to say smart or dumb, that's wrong. But those that are opportunistic and see, wow, I could just start buying a whole bunch at, what is it? Like under $1? Okay, great. How about I just buy 20,000 here, and when it goes to $2, I'll sell the 20,000 because I know I'll be able to get the money out because I've seen it happen how many times. In fact, if there was anybody, and I'm being loud and I know that, but there's times like that where I just want to shake people. I really, really do. Because it's so clear that if you had $20,000 and you didn't need it for like 6 months, buy 20,000 right here and then sell it in 6 months, and you would double your money more easily than you would ever do in life, ever, blah, blah, blah. And it's obvious to me because I know what we're doing on this end, right? It may not be obvious to those because there's a certain je ne sais quoi of all of us together, right? Like none of us are together because we're billionaires, meaning we've all been a part of something that ended up like FUCKing us, right? Therefore, when you see prices drop like that, you're like, oh, you have PTSD, like, oh, here we go again. But if you just take your mind out of the notion that everything you do in life is going to be a complete failure and actually have an open mind and say, this might be the thing, and then measure it, right? How do you know it's the right thing? Well, is this person accountable? Are they accessible? Do they hide anything? Is it transparent? And like once you start listing all of these things, you're like, wait a second, that actually does check all the boxes. I do have that. You know what? I got an idea. You know what? Actually, let me email Ant, right? Everyone emails him. I'm sure the email he would like to get is, hey, I have 100,000 sitting around, right? And I'm not soliciting it. Anyone, keep your money. I'm not soliciting it. I'm fine. Rhino's fine. But if you were so opportune to make that investment, it'd be a good idea for you, right? So that is what it is, whatever. But once we get that patent in hand, that is going to be what I'm going to do, right? Like Rhino Bucks is going to become, this is Rhino Bucks, this is what it's backed by, this is what we have, this is why we think it's worth money, this is how we're monetizing it, this is who we're speaking to. If you'd like to be a part of it, I would get in now. So even with that said, if you know that's in front of you, right? So there's and this kind of bothers me because I wish I had more time. Because everything I'm saying to you now, it's what now, December 22nd? Anthony with time would have made this really amazing promo and offer the week going into Christmas. And those are like the shortcomings where it's like, how is Anthony's personal life affecting Anthony's professional life? But even with that said, maybe I could get something together by the end of today or tomorrow. I don't know. I think I'm available all tomorrow. So this is just what we're doing. So that's the commentary on Rhino Bucks. We are going to be doing the promo for Take the Trader's Money. I am talking to the patent team. Ted is going exactly the way he's supposed to go. I think everything's good. And once everything is done and completed and moving forward, everything becomes exponential because this entire time, again, we started doing a little bit of marketing for Take the Trader's Money. I think I'm just really bad at it. I'm pretty sure I'm just terrible at it. But that's okay. I remember, what was it, when I was reading Elon's book, Walter Isaacson's book on Elon Musk. So his brother or brother-in-law or someone ran Solar City. Now that was a solar roof panel company that Tesla ended up buying. Now Tesla funded the company in the beginning. So Elon was like a 25% equity holder, blah, blah, blah. Now, he wasn't allowed to buy Solar City because that was too much nepotism, right? Like the board conflicted him out of making decisions that were about family because, he has shareholders and equity holders, et cetera, et cetera. But if you take a look at what Elon's entire goal was, is to be self-sufficient on solar energy. Therefore, there were a lot of things he was already doing, like he has Tesla battery packs that go into your house. Like it was very comprehensive. He wanted the entire house to be solar ran, and then it's just a matter of the components, battery here, solar panels there, you name it. So he was able to fit the idea of a solar panel company into Tesla, and he did. He bought it, and everyone was happy. Well, most people were happy. Some people were like, oh my God, he overpaid for this company because it's his brother, whatever. When you're Elon Musk, you could do things like that. The point of the story being, the sales of those solar panels was done on a commission base. The employees were hired by, hey, listen, you get X amount for every house that you convince to put the solar panels up. And the part that bothered Elon was when he talked to his brother, what is your marketing? How are you doing this? If you have to actually go out there and convince people one by one by knocking on doors, your product is not good. If you have a good product, people will come to you. Hence why you've never seen Tesla commercials for their cars. They just don't do it. I think I might have seen one recently, so I think they're changing that a little bit, and I think that's probably economy driven. But other than that, you never saw a commercial for SpaceLink. You never saw a commercial for space. You don't see a commercial for Twitter. You don't see a commercial for Elon's products because he believes as long as you make it as best as it could be and it makes sense, people will come to you. The point being, when I'm talking about all the things that Rhino does, we're not Elon. We don't have billions of dollars. But that doesn't mean that you're not on the path to doing that, right? You have to do this to do that. Doing this doesn't guarantee that, but this is what you have to do. In fact, if you've ever read anything about Elon, I think it was in 2008, you couldn't find a more miserable person. And the way he talked about his companies, so he had 3 companies. I think it was Tesla, SpaceX, or maybe it was just 2. Yeah, it was just those 2 at the time. And with the financial markets closing, remember the great financial crisis of 2008, whatever, he could not fund both companies. And everyone came to him and said, Elon, you have to pick one. And he goes, I can't do that. They're both my kids, and either they both live or they both die. And if they die, I die with them. That's the way this works. And as a father, I'm very partial to that sentence because I understand it. And his currency was, I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to keep doing whatever it takes to get to where I know we're going to be. And that's Rhino, right? So it's only after it happens do people look back and say, I knew it. The people in this chat are those that say, I knew it. But those that are not part of it now, or like, you know what, I'll believe it when I see it, they're the ones that look back and say, I know you could always have done it. But it's in this moment right now where I know our numbers, I know this, and everyone here knows it, that we say, okay, the path to prosperity is the belief in the future still in front. There's no guarantee to it. But we're here, let's go. And for that, I don't imagine anyone ever says the next year's not going to be their best year. I think just by default, you always believe the next year is going to be the best year. I don't think next year is going to be the best year. I think next year will be the best year until the next year. So maybe I just got real cute and changed it. But I actually really believe that. I think next year is going to be super, super great, but it won't be as good as the following year. And as long as I'm alive, and as long as that's what I believe, then Rhino will always be going. So, especially at this point, I mean, you got to ask yourself, when Rhino's sitting at 94 cents, and it's only there because one person sold from their deathbed, like their literal deathbed, then you ask yourself, well, do I think this is a good opportunity or a bad one? That answer is one that you'll revisit, because my goal is to make sure you revisit it. Whether you say it's a good idea, my goal is to make sure that you do believe it was a good idea, that you could look back and say, that was the best thing I've ever done because I believed in that man. If you don't think it's a good idea, my goal is to make sure that you look back and say, I really wish I did believe in that man. My only goal is that the decision you make today is one that you will live with. That sounds way too confrontational for Christmas. So this will be the last time I see y'all until after Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I love y'all more than words. I have 3 kids, Rhino, wait, hold on, Christian, and Amaris. So I love y'all. I'll see you later. Bye.